correct?
Yeah, so I suppose that's a new venture for him, so we're going to learn more about it. Let me transfer the screen to the desktop. Am I doing this right? 1 second. Oh, we are actually there. Cool.
That's the one Parsons.
This. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Sorry, I just ruined the part.
I have some notes on my phone, so not on Instagram. Okay, well, so I didn't know how to answer this question because it was really complicated. And then I realized there's two parts to it, and ultimately it's about agency. And it's about agency in two different ways, I think. One is, how do you feel like not a cog in this process, whether you're in like in an institution, right? Like you're in a company, and there's always these systems that are overlaid to you. How do you not feel like you're just part of that thing? How do you have empowerment and feel ownership to yourself in relationship to your company, to a hierarchy, and I guess in design in general? That's one part of it. That's the one. That's the thing I just talked about. The second part of this is, how do you find agency within design, which is the second part of the question, which is how do you make unique experiences in a homogenized world of design? So I answered this in two parts. I'm not sure if it's right, and I kind of looked inside towards myself more. So I don't know. We'll see. Part one. We're going to go through my career for a second, and I'll tell you where I've been, how I found agency within that structure, and what it meant to me. The top part will be personal, work, like professional stuff. Bottom part will be personal stuff. And then you'll see how like they kind of interchange and like how that affects my version of my agency to myself and all that stuff. In 2010, I worked at a place called Gin Lane. I don't know if you guys know, it's a studio. I can't find a lot of other work, but this is some stuff. It's my old computer. It's not very good. I was an intern. That was my role. The agency it's an agency, and I didn't have any agency or ownership because I was learning. So at that stage, I didn't feel like I deserved anything or felt like I had an opinion. Just through working there and learning, I think I earned some agency or sort of gained some agency myself because I was able to, they sent me out to talk to clients personally, so that's cool. You should never let me do that. They trusted me in that sense, right? So that was really nice. But then I left because I had to go to school. Then between 2011 to somewhere mid-2012, I was at a place called Supply. That's a startup. And I had a lot of agency there because partially, and we'll see different contexts of what startup is and how I felt agency in some places and others. One of the reasons here is the entire product was kind of like fuck everything. My creative director, Ben, was really amazing, and he sort of implored this idea of like challenge everything and sort of go against the grain. So because of the process that he overlaid in his company that was prescribed, that was, sort of contagious throughout, I was able to get agency from the process he set out, right? Because he was the owner. Then we sold/failed because we went to eBay. So depending on how you want to think about it, we sunset it and all that. We're going to skip what happened at eBay. And we're going to go to another place called Sum. So I worked there from mid-2013 to the end of 2015. This was another startup. And this was the first time I was sort of out on my own, trying to fix something, do something, create something new. I had like sort of a little bit of agency there because they were like, "You're great," and I was young and egotistical, and I was like, "Just do these things." I'm like, "Yeah." So we were doing some stuff like that, but the agency sort of ran out because we were inventing stuff and trying out new UIs and trying to create. This is during the Fitbit like health craze that we were working on, so like all these stages and different ideas here. And we're trying to figure this out, and the agency existed for a while, and then we just didn't develop or execute any of the designs I made. So that sucked, and I sort of lost agency in that way. Like I didn't feel like I owned anything, and it was kind of awful. I felt really bad about it, but I quit. Then I went to Google X for a little bit. So that's between 2015 to mid 2015. So there I was working on glass, and that was kind of cool. So in this structure, this was a large corporation, right? So there's tons of systems. You're beholden to a hierarchy, to meetings, to stakeholders, to your bosses. Everything's very structured. However, I found a lot of agency here, not because of the working process that I was beholden to, but rather like the end product we were making. Like we were making glass. That was never part of anything. So the end product itself was the agent, if that makes sense at all, that I felt empowered by. Like I am part of this thing, right? So even in a large corporation in which there are structures and systems for, and I was just like a regular designer there. I didn't have any higher role. I felt a lot of agency and ownership there. But then it failed, by the way. Yeah, it just never happened. So yeah, my career is this. Then I applied to Yale, didn't get in, so I got rejected. So now I've lost agency like in my life, right? Like I am devastated. It gets worse. Then I went to a Grail. I'm not sure you guys know that, but I was there for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. I don't know. We're doing some fun stuff. I'll show you a little bit more of it. This is the first time I've actually shown people this type of work. It's been hidden, and they never use any of this. I try to rebrand them a little bit. So there, I had a lot. I was they hired me there. They were just getting funding. I was the VP of design because you have to argue for titles, and that's a secret thing. So I was like, cool, I'm a VP of design. You get to do everything. So they gave me a lot of power. However, remember like earlier I said like Ben set up this process in which it permeated throughout the company. I had so much power there but then I was so young, I didn't know how to do anything, that I wasn't giving the process to people, nor was I empowering, my peers or the CEO or the CFO or like the marketing person. I didn't give them any process to work, to sort of absorb themselves in. So I would just meet with a lot of power going, this is what you're going to do. And that was not cool. So I got fired. That's been so far. Then I did nothing. Super depressed. So I have no agency at this point. But I've started doing some projects, and I'll show you what happened. So I here just generally in my life, I've lost all self-esteem and respect for myself. So I had to find a way to gain that again. So between freelancing and like mid 2016 to I guess earlier this year, I was at a company called Arcade. Arcade is like a startup, mid-sized company. They have a lot of funding, and it was kind of an e-commerce digital product thing. I was the design director there, so that was cool. I've taken some lessons I've learned from me getting fired. That it was important to have some sort of process that you can instill in other people and encourage other people to work in your team. But even here, I felt like there was very little agency for me because of the type of work it was. It was e-com work, and we were trying to get people to buy things, and you're sort of beholden to metrics. And when you're beholden to metrics, especially in sales, it's really difficult to have an agency because that's where we're measuring against, right? So by the way, that also failed, so that's why I'm not there anymore. I didn't get fired. So this is my career so far. So I think that's, yeah, so far it's all of this stuff. So there's a lot of agency in the beginning, and they kind of stopped. But throughout that time, now we're doing some other, I don't know what's going to happen now. But throughout the time between Yale and Grail, where the two, like just losing everything, I had no sense of myself. I tried to figure out how do I gain some sort of grasp of my work, my practice, my skill. So I just did this one project that I've been doing since that time. So it's like day 800 something. So every day I'll make a piece of work, and it looks like this. This is just some of it. So I felt out agency because it was an art project. I wasn't answering to anyone, and it was just for me to make myself feel good, and it felt good. And I felt like I had some sort of like this was about me, so I felt some sort of empowerment to myself. It's very internal rather than like external in some ways, right? So that's the art project here. But then all of this, then I'm doing something called Wilson, which is a project I started myself. So it's my own company. But you'll see, and I'll show you how it all kind of ties back. But this is what Wilson looks like, and I'll talk to you more about it. A little bit of self-promotion, you know. We'll do a little bit of that. The scribbles on purpose, but they all kind of tie back together. But anyways, this is my career so far. And what I've learned is that we go to have agency. It's dependent on so many different factors: where you are in your life, your role, the context, the people around you. But I have some general ideas. So at a studio, you can get agency based on your role, right? But it's interesting. You can get agency by the clients you choose. So if you want to start something yourself, you can do that and then pick the right client, and that makes you feel empowered. The worst part of the studio thing is if you're doing a work that you don't want to do, which is not good. At a startup, you can also find agency there, depending on the role, whether you started, of course, but also the people around you. If you're working with a good team that empowers that has a type of dynamic for you, that's empowering. Or if you started yourself, you can create that sort of environment for others, right? Because empowering others is empowering yourself, and it's a good thing. In a corporation, if you're not, like, what I realized is that, like, unless you're doing a cool project at a bigger company, which is usually like an R&D kind of thing, like a super cool little doodad, or if you're like a really high position, working in a large corporation kind of sucks. Like, you're just gonna, like, I don't know, sorry, work on Messenger, It's Messenger. Sorry, I think it was Facebook. But I like Facebook. The other thing you can do is yourself, which those are your personal projects or starting your own company. And starting your own company is part of like one of the two over there, which the idea is that you have a lot of control over what you're building, but you're beholden to your partners, the people around you, and that also feels kind of good too when you have that type of context. So it's really contextual where you are. That's where you find agency. I don't know. This is just my life. Okay, part two. How do you find agency within design in general, right? Like, how do you make things not look the same, right? Because everything looks the same. Everything looks the same because of the process of material design, of flat design, and all that stuff. The good news is, well, hold on, this is a little lesson for you guys are all designers. But the good news is that homogenized, it's really great to have homogeneous design in systems today, and also to be aware of them, because when you have those systems, you have something really hard to go against. You're like, I see this, just do the complete opposite, and you're probably in a good place, right? So having those systems is great, and being able to be aware of that is amazing. Now, how do you do that? A quick lesson on design, just in case none of you know. There are visuals. Visuals are colors, topography, and composition. There's space, which is the relationship between pages and screens to each other. So you can imagine x-axis of screens on the app, y-axis of screens on the app, and then z-axis, right? So you have all this space and how they all relate to each other. Cool. Motion, animation, it gives things life, and then it gives things a narrative. Things coming from the left, and then it goes back to the right, working lead, whatever, right? But like, it gives you that narrative. And content, which is like a weird little guy. And I'll talk to you about content, which is like information and people's thoughts. So here I'll just show you so these are all the levers that I think, this is an oversimplification of it, but these are 4 different levers that you can sort of understand and study, and you know the rules, and then you can sort of like create cognitive dissonance with these, right? But don't do, like, the most you can do is probably combine 2 of them. That happens with motion and space the most, but never do all 4 together, because no one understands what we're doing. So I just want to show you, like, this thing was about content, and like the navigation here is like illest, I think. This is old, but like it's combining 3 things. It's a filter, it's a breadcrumb, and it's a navigation. So you're creating this like you use motion, you're using space, and you're creating this little thing that's cool because people just kind of separate those 3 elements separately and you combine them, and it's an easier shopping experience. I think that's it for this one. This is an old guy. So this is really interesting. I never got to make this, but this was part of my time at Sum. This is a bad animation, but I had to make this so I can explain it better. But the idea was to use space. Rather than screen space, we use real life space. One of the things we had to do was to, track your food, right? How much you're eating. And sometimes you don't know how much, like, is a salad a big salad or a large salad or a small salad? Large, small, medium, small. And so you can either type that in, but if you see the satellite, you can actually use your phone's physical space with the camera on to either go closer or further away so that the rings actually don't move, but your spacing between the product moves, right? So then you can, if it's that's a medium, and then that's large, you just literally go closer, right? And then if you want to tilt your phone, the whole thing will tilt with you. This is like a concept of using like real space and trying to go against that, because I think people would mostly just figure out like a zoom thing. That was cool. Other thing, this is like a visual cognitive dissonance thing I was trying to figure out. But like, why do drop shadows have to be black? Like that was the biggest one. So I made drop shadows not black, and this is for Trailed, and like other cool stuff here. There's not much to it other than that was the premise, right? Like you don't have to. You figure out the visual language that people use, and then you just make the opposite of that, and that'll get you somewhere. Okay, this one is content based. This is interesting. I don't even know how to explain. Okay, so basically, when you see like a product in the shopping e-com level, you kind of see like a product and then the name and the price, and you click into it, right? However, the content triggers. I think they trigger different things. So when you're looking at this shoe, what it could have happened, which just says Nike Lunar Fly 6, sneaker size 9, you click into it and that's it, right? That's it. However, if you're looking at a sneaker and you kind of like it for some reason, you're thinking about a whole variety of different things. You're thinking about the brand, you're thinking about maybe just size, the category, or the item itself. So instead of combining those four content into, accepting the status quo today of when you see an item, it's just one piece of link. This separates all of them out. So if you want to just click on the shoe, just go on the shoe. We're there. If you want to see Lunar Supply 6, you can go to that particular category. Like, I'm just going to look at Flyknits for now. If you forgot that Nike existed, you'll click on Nike, right? If you want to see the category of sneakers, you can do that. Or size 9.5, so it'll filter everything down to size 9.5 for you. So you take an element and you can separate into four different things so that can trigger people's minds going to different places, rather than just ending it at that's a sneaker, we move on. So this is like taking content and then shifting it. This is another. I don't know. This is just other fun stuff, visual stuff. Like you can float text, why not, and then content go below it. This is cool. Like you can have a banner of someone's profile. So instead of just having one image or big or whatever, just repeat it throughout. The follow button is interesting because you take that image, you can make a border for it, and then stretch it, and then that becomes a little doodad over there, right? And then that way the page gets owned by the individual in many different ways, other than just like here's a profile picture and something you can say. And then so for zeros, you can just like a funny thing to do with a zero is just to make it empty, like that's zero failed, right? Like there are jokes here. I don't know. There's jokes, yeah. Oh, this is a cool thing. So this is an idea. It doesn't exist yet. We're making it, and this is with a friend of mine who does Talk Magazine. We're doing the web version of it now. So these are some sketches we're doing. So most sites start in the top and you scroll down. Talk Magazine's most editor letters start in the beginning of the magazine, the first couple pages. And then, is that what it's called? I don't know. The cover thing. That thing starts in the beginning of the magazine, but for Talk, they start in the middle, because usually the interaction of a magazine is when you open it, because of the middle binding, it kind of sticks open like that, so you can see what the editors say. And that's all the table of contents. So taking that idea, the website here starts in the middle of the page. You can scroll up and you can scroll down. And then you can see the navigation lock. We have to build this, but just sneak peek. Don't take this idea just yet. But so the top part looks like that, so you can imagine it going up, and I'll show you what that looks like. And the bottom one looks like that. So the top, when you scroll up, the navigation will shrink to the bottom. This is what the bottom looks like, so you can see how that all works out. This is the bottom looks like compared to the middle part, right? So like taking space, like why does a website have to start in the middle? I mean, in the big top, start in the middle, start it wherever you want. Like it doesn't. I mean, start it wherever you want with a reasoning, but you can start it wherever you want. This is Wilson. This is the thing I'm working on now. It's a podcast player that we contextualize and create a playlist at about 4 or 5 episodes that is related to a theme. I create them now, but then soon we'll hopefully get other people to do it. But the idea here is content. You take content that people think looks like one way, and you take content that people think looks like another way, and you mishmash them. So people think podcasts look a certain way. They're nerdy and they're kind of like boring and homogenous and gross. Well, magazines are cool. I like fashion magazines, and I like that type of like graphic design style. So what if you took that style and that aesthetic, which is applied differently to podcasts? So when you have a juxtaposition of content, of just like what people think content should be, and you mix it up with another type of content, that in and of itself is it creates some sort of cognitive dissonance to make things not look the same, right? What else do I have? Oh, this is cool. This never existed, but this was for a project with Beam. But this is idea playing with space. So instead of having one screen showing one page of content, what if it bled out to see the other types of content on the side? You can do it left and right. And I forgot like how I did it, but left had a meaning and bottom, up and down had a meaning. And they are related somehow. But yeah. So you can play with space this way. This is I haven't shown this thing. That's cool. Oh, and this one. So this is also content. This is my site, but this is, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to promote that. But I'm trying to promote like this idea of reasoning. So people do responsive design for responsive design. But this is a portfolio site. So one, why does it have to be responsive? I present to you myself the way I think I should be best presented to you by myself, for myself. So the work I have may not look really good in a small screen, right? So that's my thesis. So I just don't like that. So I don't want to make a responsive site. That's just not what I wanted. So when you resize the web page down to like, I think 768, the entire site glitches. Like you can't read, nothing happens. You can scroll, but nothing really works. So it just fucks you up. And then if you go to my site on your phone, you can't even see it, but you get to email a link to yourself. So the context of this is, why are you looking at my portfolio on your phone right now? You're at a bar, someone showed it to you, you're on the go, you're doing something. Why would I want to present to you in a circumstance in which I'm not giving you my best foot forward, right? So if you're at a bar and you go, oh, you should look at it on here, or you should look at my site, email it to yourself, deal with the hangover, and then go to my site in real life. It's better. But the idea is to like not take, like people just go to the responsive so quickly, like, we gotta make these things, but why? What is the context of that? So just being able to embrace that, understanding like why I'm doing these certain moves. And look, I don't think they're all right. I think they're all a little bit messed up, but I think there's some reasoning behind it, which kind of gives me agency to design. I think that's it. Cool. But okay. So yeah, the point, I wrote a thing. Well, the goal is to really find your own version of agency and what it means to you. I think it's different from everyone else. And agency exists in many contexts, even in large corporations and in small places too. So yeah, that's it.